My first top 10 on this channel actually got a very considerable amount of views. Like, holy shit. Over 100,000 views. That is just insane. Thanks everyone for the support with the top 10. I have received a lot of positive feedback on it and of course a bit of negative as well. Now naturally, given the success of the first video, I'm going to do a follow-up to that video. Except this time I'm doing the reverse. Ladies and gents, today we will be counting down my personal picks for the top 10 least favorite games on Steam. These are games that do not deserve any positive recognition and do not deserve your hard-earned money. And just like my previous video, the same rules apply but with one additional rule. All of these games are my personal opinion. You can disagree with my choices, absolutely. But do not criticize me for my choices. This is all my personal opinion, like I said. The games I pick here are games that I personally played. If a game you thought was terrible but wasn't in this list, it probably means that I haven't played it and probably never will. And depending on when you're viewing this video, the list of course might be outdated. Like say if you watch this video an entire year after it was published, it's more than safe to assume that my choices have already changed. And with the simple rules out of the way, let's get to the countdown! I am really sorry, but even if this game was 11 years in development, I simply cannot recommend it at all. It just doesn't deserve the praise I see people giving it. I will give the developer or developers, I don't know if it was more than one person, some credits, because the soundtrack of this game is pretty enjoyable. The graphics actually look very pleasing to the eye. There's workshop support and the missions are laid out not too badly. The problem I have? The gameplay itself. Cortex Command is a physics-based game, and that would be absolutely fine, but the controls are remarkably clunky. You'll be getting stuck on the walls a lot, and changing units seems to have a few issues while doing so. I've got this game while it was still in beta in 2012. I got it for free, and believe me when I say this, nothing has changed since then. If the controls were tweaked and the getting stuck on walls part was fixed as well, I'd be pretty neutral on this, but as it is right now, Cortex Command is a really clunky game that feels like it's still in early access. Do not be misled by its title. This is not a racing game. Instead, this is a build it and watch your car go through it game. Kinda like those Hot Wheels sets we used to play back in the day, except this time, it's even more boring. The only type of input you do in this game is press on a track to rotate it, add additional stuff, and that's it. Besides that, all you're basically doing is just watching. With graphics that look like they're a ripoff of Cartown, little to none gameplay, and insanely forgettable music, Racer 8 is a game I do not recommend you pick up even if it's free. And believe me, this game goes free very often. Yes, I actually put this game on the list. I'm probably going to piss off about 99.9% of the entire Five Nights at Freddy's fanbase just with the mere mention of the game on this list. But I'm sorry, I honestly cannot recommend Five Nights at Freddy's as a game. This is a type of game I can recommend to watch videos of, but if you decide to go play it yourself, you're gonna be insanely disappointed by the sheer boredomness it can offer. While graphically the game looks freaking amazing, has really good sound design, and the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's is admittedly pretty interesting, the gameplay itself is all that lacking, much like Cortex Command. All you do is watch the cameras, flicker some lights, and close the doors occasionally. That's it. If you get caught, you are rewarded with a sudden loud noise and a giant figure in your screen. Save your €5 and go buy a better game like Boson X, for example.
It's kind of a legal thing, you know. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Just another Mario wannabe. Canyon Capers is a mission-based platforming game. That's the best I can describe it as. Why is it bad? There are lots of problems with its design. The game has a really boring countryside soundtrack, coupled with banjos and stuff. The level designs are surprisingly bland and uninteresting, despite it being a collectathon. You know, collectathons are usually supposed to have some sort of interesting gimmick to them, but no, they're just platforms, nothing interesting. And the game has some of the worst sound effects I have ever heard in a fucking platformer. This game also has absolutely no heads-up display, and it has really slippery, horrible controls. Canyon Capers only has two things going for it: the Steam trading cards and the graphics. Everything else, absolutely terrible. Don't get this game. Try avoiding it if you see it. Looking at the trailer, gameplay videos, and everything else, this game looks awesome, right? Well, no. It's actually one of the worst games in my library. I'll be honest, I never even played this game. Wanna know why? Because I can't. The game immediately crashes when I try to boot it up, and when it eventually did boot up, the menu was the laggiest piece of shit I have ever used in a PC game, and then it crashed again when I selected New Game. Riveting. If you can run it, it might actually be a good game, but in this state, as it is right now, it's getting a number 6 spot on my least favorites list, though easily the worst PC optimization I have ever seen in a fucking video game.
At some point in the future, mankind invents this.
Even if you put this game on paper, it still doesn't look fun, so it makes me wonder how exactly did this game go past the concept stages. Gun Monkeys is a 2-player deathmatch game where you and one other player are put into an arena and have to fight for your life. The guy who wins steals the other guy's points. Doesn't even sound fun to me, to be honest, but I gave it a shot in the end after I received it from a giveaway. The controls are flimsy, aiming is surprisingly difficult, and the power-ups only look cosmetic. They actually don't do shit. Also, rather forgettable soundtrack and a tutorial that treats you like an idiot. Gun Monkeys is a game I'm never touching again, no matter what.
Light switches and our awkwardly energy-hungry time travel devices.
I actually would recommend this game to you because the concept of it is pretty fun in a way, and it doesn't play too badly. Why don't I recommend it? A few reasons. No developer support, no workshop support, no active community, levels can be pretty boring despite this being a speedrun type of game where the objective is to rush through the stage as fast as possible, and there are very evident hitbox issues. Controls, while adaptable, can actually feel rather slippery. Yeah, no, get Melody's Escape instead. Little Tree Adventures is a game that I thought was okay on the very first level. but as I played more and more, things seemed to get worse and worse. Now, Woodle Tree Adventures has cute graphics and a really casual, simple story. Those are two things I can legitimately enjoy in this game. Everything else, not so much. This is a 3D platforming game, so it should have a decent camera to go with it, right? Right. Except this game doesn't. The camera is always locked behind the player with no way of changing that. The only way you can modify the player camera is by zooming in and out. That's it. Level design is some of the most basic design I've ever seen, and the way you defeat enemies is just bizarre. Slap them with a leaf, watch them die! A really bland soundtrack that doesn't stick out, little to no sound effects, and really clunky controls and camera. This is a game that actually does have potential, but is drawn back heavily by its issues. Though I guess it wouldn't hurt if you pick it up for free sometime. An indie title that fell flat on its face. Developed by Microblast Games, Dead Bits is a block-based first-person shooter. Sounds simple, right? Well, they kinda overdid it and underdid it at the same time. I don't know how it's possible, but it is. The game tries to incorporate a really lackluster and boring story, which is where I think it tries too hard. It also tries too hard in trying to be edgy with the really repetitive and forgettable dubstep music, and coupled with graphics that have only colored blocks with little to no textures involved, awkward and imprecise controls, both keyboard and mouse, horrible level design, and terrible enemy AI that literally cheats on you. Dead Bits is one game I urge you stay away from. Before I go on to reveal my number one pick for the least favorite game on Steam, here are some dishonorable mentions.
There is a problem, Mr. Tokai.
Talk about a game that literally states it's a bad game in its title. Bad Rats is nothing but awful. I am sorry, but I do not understand why this game got popular or why it became a meme, because not only do I find it a highly unfunny game, I also find it highly offensive, because I'm a cat lover and murdering cats in a game is something I am personally against doing. Forgettable soundtracks, terrible graphics, awfully boring gameplay, and promotion of animal abuse, Bad Rats is my number one pick for the least favorite game on Steam, and with good reason. Do yourself a massive favor and stay as far away from this game as possible. If anyone does gift this game to you on Steam, that probably means they hate you. Seriously though, if anyone does gift this game to you, just decline the gift. Please. And that wraps up this video. Just remember that all my picks in this video were my personal opinion, and you are, of course, free to have your own opinion. After all, I'm not telling you can't like this game. Let me know in the comments on what your least favorite Steam games are, and of course, video feedback is always appreciated. I am always looking for ways to improve my YouTube videos, so your feedback is really important to me. Anyway, this was Broiler, thanks for watching my video, and have yourselves a great day.